Hey guys, there's some exciting news for Hearthstone right now, and it's really cool. Basically, they made new patch notes for Hearthstone, changing some of the most overpowered cards that are in standard right now. So basically, this video is I'm going to talk about them, and if you want to read the whole patch notes, you can go to the description below, but I'm just going to show you guys anyways. So the first card is Reider Weapon. Oh my god. Reider Weapon is going to be changed from a 1 mana card to a 2 mana card. And why is this so good? Because Reider, it was fine, right? I mean, Reider by a card is like the only 1 mana card that dealt 3 damage, right? There's no other card that did that kind of. You know, Lightning Bolt is effectively a 2 mana card of Overload. And then you have your Holy Smite, Arcane Shot, you know, stuff like that only deal 2. So Reider is already above the curve in that regard. And the only cost is that you pay some health on your own character, right? However, when it starts becoming crazy is because when you can pair it with Alakir or Doomhammer, right? It becomes a 1 mana fireball. And that is not healthy for the game. So I'm really happy that the Reider was changed to a 2 mana card. So now we won't see that much of a, oh, I'm gonna Reider you and Doomhammer you, and then it casts 2 Reiders on turn 7 and suddenly deals 60 damage out of nowhere. So that's gonna be good. A side effect of Reider Weapon getting nerfed is that Alakir is gonna suck a little bit more. But that's it. Doomhammer is still gonna be insane, I feel like. Doomhammer is still a 5 mana card with 2 overload that deals 60 damage. So I don't think that's gonna change too much. But Shaman got another nerf, which is the Tuskar Totemic. This change has been asked by the community for so goddamn long. It will no longer summon any random totem. It will summon a basic totem only, which is in line with the Wicked Witch Doctor, I guess. Yeah, the 4 mana 3/4 that makes totems, right? It's in line. And this card is finally... It's like so stupid, right? Basically, I play a lot of Hearthstone, as you guys know, right? And every time my opponent Tuskar Totemics a Mana Tide or a Totem Golem, I just really want to rage quit. This is the single card that makes me want to rage quit, like, in Hearthstone ever. So yeah, this is about time. And like a 3 mana card should not have that much of a ceiling and that low a risk, because, well, the fail case was that it's a 3/2 that summons a 0/2, right? And the high case was just too high. And now it's going to be more balanced in that sense. So definitely a great change. The next change is Call of the Wild, where it's going to have an increased mana cost to 8 mana to 9 mana. And that makes a lot of sense because, you know, back then, before the cards were revealed, I was like, this card was the most insane card ever, right? Because Animal Companion costs 3, and when you combine all 3 Animal Companions together, it should cost 9. And that is really OP already, because technically when you combine cards, it's better. Because you're only playing that 1 card. You're not playing 3 Animal Companions. Because when you play 3 Animal Companions, you're losing 3 cards. Call of the Wild only lose you 1 card, right? So it's about time that they nerf this. It's actually a bigger nerf than people expect. Because Hunters can no longer, at turn 10, go Call of the Wild and Hero Power, right? That's like so much damage. It's actually 7 damage when Call of the Wild Hero Power happens. And like, would you play that? Or would you play Power Blast and only deal 10 damage to the face and not have any minions, right? So Call of the Wild was definitely overcosted, very good change, and people won't be seeing it at turn 8 as well, so they have a little bit more time to prep this, which is awesome. The next change I didn't really expect. It's an Execute. It's the Execute nerf from 1 mana to 2 mana from Warriors. I felt like a 1 mana Execute was fine because it's kind of on par with, like, you know, a 1 mana Shield Slam, for example. Shield Slam, albeit you have to like kind of set up a little bit more. Execute setup cost is very low because you have like Ravaging Ghoul, you have, you know, just minions attacking, you have your weapons, you know, stuff like that. I guess it's fine. And I guess Control Warrior is like no longer the king of control decks. It's gonna still be king though, because like the armor mechanic is something that no other class can mimic, right? Like why Control Priest, Control Rogue, and Control Druid. Well, Control Druid is a little bit better because they do have armor, but why they can never match up to Warrior standards is because Justicar and the Hero Power and Shield Blocks and stuff like that, it's just so effective at stopping OTK decks, right? Because Control decks kind of get wrecked by OTK decks sometimes. And Warriors can also like gain the health so it's also good against aggro. So like the Execute is a little bit of a nerf from that side, but I still think Control Warrior is going to be super strong, and Execute is still going to see play because still 2 mana kill something is really good. All right, the Charge nerf was interesting because, well, it's not really a nerf, it's more of a change, I guess. Because it's going to be a 3 mana, it's changed from 3 mana to 1 mana, and then it gives a minion charge, so no attack bonus, and it cannot attack the face. So it's a nerf in the sense that the OTK Worgen deck, right? The Raging Worgen deck that, you know, just Emperors and it just OTKs your opponent is no longer a deck archetype. But, like, Charge is going to be interesting because, well, it's a different sort of card that we haven't seen before, right? I still think it's a bad card, but it gets me thinking, what if all Charge cards cannot attack your opponent's face the turn it comes in? Wouldn't that be a very interesting design space? Now, they're just like interesting to think about, but yeah, I think it's good to have less cards that are not interactive. You know, Charge is by far just the most non-interactive mechanic in the game, because you can't deal with it. Well, Stealth is another mechanic that's not good. As you can see, they don't print a lot of Stealth cards because they realize that this mechanic is unfun. So I guess it's a good change, interesting direction, and it's a good change because the classic set, it's gonna be evergreen, right? Evergreen meaning that every time a new expansion comes out, you can still play with Charge or your Innervate or your Outdoor Peacekeeper. So it's a good step in the right direction. Abusive Sergeant is another nerf where it was interesting because when when Leopard Gnome was nerfed from a 2/1 to a 1/1, people thought that Abusive Sergeants could get the same treatment because it's effectively the same thing, right? Abusive Sergeant deals 2 damage wherever you want, and it's a 2/1, right? And Leopard Gnome is kind of like deal 2 damage to the opponent's face, and it's a 2/1. So it's interesting that it kind of dodged the first wave of nerfs, and it makes sense that it's gonna get nerfed right now to a 1/1, and it's more in line with the other aggro cards, and that's good. That's fine. Abusive was above the curve. It's a 1 mana 4/1, and 1 mana 4/1 shouldn't exist, right? Like all the problematic cards in Hearthstone are the cards that are, you know, overcosted or overstated, more like. For example, like Totem Golem 3/4, Flame Reef Faceless 4 mana 7/7, right? Like these are always the problematic cards. Even Mysterious Challenger, a 6 mana 6/6 that puts all the secrets into play, was an overstated card. And finally, the greatest card change of all, Sauron. As you can see here, the text didn't change at all, but it's an internal change. If Yogg ever gets removed from the board, it will stop casting random spells, which is it's a huge nerf to Yogg. Oh my god, right? I mean, the more spells you cast, the better, because usually spells can either wipe the board or get a secret. Those are the always positive ones, right? If you deal damage, then it's RNG or whatever, right? But there are a lot of positive effects that can come out of Yogg. Now, if your Yogg gets hexed by himself or like gets flame lanced or whatnot, everything stops, which is big. So yeah, it is a huge change and a very good change because there's so many tournament games and so many like competitive games that are decided by this card that's meant to be more of a fun card, right? I don't think that they anybody when it was released were like, oh my god, Sauron is the best competitive card in Whispers of the Old Gods. Nobody ever thought that because it's not true, right? The design mechanic for this card is for it to be fun and it's more appeals to the casual audience, but it somehow crept its way into the competitive scene because the power level was too high. So it's interesting. A little note on this card is that I don't like the wording of this card because it's not elegant. It's not supposed to happen this way because Battle Cry is supposed to be this happens before the minion comes into play, right? That's the definition, right? The fact that Sauron can cast spells on itself is really bad. I don't like the consistency of it, right? A good example would be Iron Forge Rifleman. You can never Iron Forge Rifleman your Iron Forge Rifleman. It's not possible. So I wish they actually worded it a little bit differently, I guess. But I mean, it's like a bandage fix to a card that's not, it's like unhealthy for the meta right now. So yeah. So that's all the card changes. Overall, These were like really needed. I'm really happy that Hearthstone is doing this. Yeah, some people are saying that it's like super late and like this should have been done ages ago. But I for one am very happy that they're just finally doing it, you know, like it's happening, guys, so just be happy about it. And you know, with BlizzCon championships coming up, it's gonna be good. And I actually want to say one more thing is that I encourage Blizzard to, you know, make more card adjustments, whether it be buffs or nerfs or whatever. I want more card changes. Hearthstone is a digital card game, for Christ's sake, and like the advantage of being a digital card game is that you can make these changes on the fly. Sure, you don't want to overdo it because there was a note when developers in Hearthstone were talking about it. They want to secure the confidence that when you craft the Sylvanas, for example, it's always going to be a Sylvanas. It's always going to work the same. And, like, you know, when you quit the game for a while and come back, you're not, like, super, you know, confused on all the changes and whatnot. But I feel like it's fine as long as you do it in the right amounts, right? There should be, like I tweeted this before, there should be a patch immediately after a set is changed, a set is released, because you can't really tell from your limited amount of playtesting how the card's gonna be, right? For example, like Spirit Claws is a card that's like insane, right? That you can't really tell from playtesting. So a patch that's immediately after a set release would be great, and then a mid-season patch, a mid-season being like before the next set. Like there's if a set comes out in January and the next set comes out in May, I want a March patch to basically freshen up the meta a bit and actually re-evaluate what decks are a bit overperforming too much and what decks need help. And I think the decks need help portion can be a little bit helpful, like helped a bit more. For example, like Priest, right? So yeah. Anyways, fine, good step, a step in the right direction. Let me know what you guys think about the card changes in the comments below. Of course, I'll be reading them. And see you in Hearthstone. I can finally be happy when my opponent plays Dusturn Totem. I mean, not frustrated. So I for one am very excited. Good. I'll see you guys later.